All right, all right. How's it going? All right, all right. Peace and long life, yeah? Those of you who are Star Trek fans out there, infinite diversity and infinite combinations. Let's see how many of you actually believe in that, huh? So, I was supposed to have a guest today, so I was all geared up to have the burden of talking be shared with someone else. Oh well. I think I can do enough talking for all of us. Man, I'm gonna go through like some little like bullet points here, like a sort of like a to do list, if you will. But I am also gonna make it in real time. So I think one of the things we need to talk about is, hey, how about these guys out there doing a great job, and Pavel and Jack, those two shows, Cosmic Road and I forget, I'm sorry, Paul, Psychoactivity or something. I'll have to look that one up. There's two shows are doing really great with the guests and the footage. So if you want direct information, let's go ahead and just find that. Let's find that gentleman's video. I'm going to go ahead and we'll just share my Tridactyl X screen here so we can get to Mister's page so I don't butcher people's names. And so here's his full name: Psychoactivo. Okay, I was close. Psychoactivo. Um, let's see. Here he is. Pavel is doing an awesome job. He has guests on his show that honestly Joe Rogan should be having on his show. You know, it makes you wonder sometimes, how do these narratives get lost when this is it, man? This is what all these alien enthusiasts have been searching for. How about those people that suggest that the things are fake still? Boy, I don't know, but I've been going after them. One of the easiest ways to stop one of these skeptics about the beings being fake is ask them which scientist said that, and ask him if that scientist also studied the bodies hands on. So there you go. So let's go check out Jack while we're here too. So Mystery Roads is probably the best way to find his stuff. I was warned not to lean into the camera because people are looking up my nose. And I don't want them to find any illicit substances up there from back in the 90s. So let's see. We're looking up Mystery Roads, I think is what he goes by. Cosmic Road. I wonder if he'll have a face pick. Will he have a face pick of himself somewhere along the way? Probably not. Jack's all about the content, right? There he is. All right. So, yeah, check those guys out, man. They're on YouTube. They keep posting on X. I mean, Jack is like the daily freaking news for ufology. This guy don't stop. He gets into the woo too. If you're into some of the metaphysical stuff, Jack's not afraid to dip his toes into the cosmological mire that is out there. So that's cool. Yeah, check those guys out. So as far as biology goes, Mr. Pavel on his Psychoactivo show did just have Mr. Wrangle. Is he a doctor? I'm not sure. See, I'm going to butcher someone else's title. I think he's a biologist, right? I don't recall now. See, I now that I said that, now I've opened that gate of unknowing, and we have to see who he is. And I probably have him as a friend, or at least following him. Let's see, Ricardo Rangel, biologist. Okay, so he's a biologist. So biologists, they have a BA or possibly a master's, I guess, at times. Awesome, good stuff. So what's the point? The point is, Again, there is lots of people out there for great content. And what I do is going to be different than definitely what those guys do. My focus is mostly on the archaeological evidence, um, anthropological evidence. So we're talking artifacts, we're talking some phonemes and some study and characters. One of the best things about learning about the Tridactyls for me has been learning about Chinese script and learning more Spanish, and I knew a little bit. Just the other day, a word came up, and it was in, what was it, Phoenician or Proto-Semitic? Here they're very similar. And I was like, oh, I can read that. That's great. And that's just from studying this stuff for the last 9 months. So I have put myself on a course for increased knowledge into building a xenoanthropology program, Xenoanthropology 101. Biology may not be my thing, but hopefully cultural connections and cosmological connections, that is the cosmological beliefs, what the ancients thought of their surroundings and of the universe and how the world works around them. And there's a lot of similarities, in cultures around the world. That's why we're here. I should probably take this moment just to give you a little bit of my footsteps, my path on this tridactyl journey. And again, I am open for guests. I am going to go ahead while I say that for guests. I'm going to go ahead and copy a link right here. And that way I can use that link to send out to people. And perhaps they'd be interested in hopping on a stream. We can ask some of those culprits right now and just see if they would be willing to just pop on. Now, wouldn't that be fun? This is the way to do it, right? Let's just do like random links and just like, it's almost like prank calling people back in the 80s. I'm just going to send random stream links and like, ha, come join my stream, whether you like it or not. Oh, Lord. Here we go. I mean, I don't know. Who else could we invite here? Truth is always fun. Well, I say always till he's like poo-pooing my ancient aliens idea. Then he's not that fun, Anyway, I did send out some links to some random people to see if they would like to join the stream. Now let's just get back. Let's talk about me for a second, could we? No, in all seriousness, I do want to just share some elements of my journey because it helps explain the anthropological science that I'm attempting to put together here. And again, I'm not going out and doing full reports. I'm relying on the reports of several different archaeologists. Google Scholar has been super helpful. There are actual scientific journal reports out there. You can find these things. It's just a good way to glean information. I notice with a lot of the scholastic papers is that it seems like a lot of people like to hedge their bets in the scholastic papers saying, well, we know this much and maybe it could be this or maybe it could be that, but we're not sure. And there's tends to be a line in some of these scholastic papers that say it requires further research. And I agree with you there. All this stuff requires further research. The entire history of mankind, our own personal Western cosmology has to be looked at a different light because now we're seeing intervention of non-human beings. And these non-human beings correspond with what? They correspond with the mythologies of the world, right? So I'm getting ahead of my own self with multiple stories. I just want to tell you guys a simple thing, which is when the bodies appeared, I recognized them. I mean, it took me a little bit of. At first, I thought they were cake. I think also, right, like everyone else. And then my girlfriend's like, "You better take a look at these." And I was like, But I recognized them after a bit because I believe they were in. They may be in one of my anthropology books that I'm using as a tripod right now. I recognized them from a class They were on petroglyphs. They were on cave walls. I recognized their cordiform, their heart-shaped faces. And that heart-shaped face sent me on this research journey, because part of that research journey was like, well, why do we have the symbol of the heart in the first place? So these heart-shaped faces were associated with tridactyl limbs, little cross-like little hands in petroglyphs, right? And if you recall some of the skeptics' explanations for those, and maybe this was for years ago or even recently, where the tridactyl hands were there because it was easier than drawing 5 fingers. That was it. There's this weird Occam's late. It's a poor man's Occam's razor. It's the Occam's plastic spork, which is they oversimplify things. We know looking back that, wait a minute, they were depicting tridactyl limbed beings, ideally with cordiform shaped heads, if you're lucky. So Pavel's like, what is this random link? Join and find out. Let's see. It's like shooting into a crowd. What? That's a terrible analogy with a squirt gun. So we're talking about looking for these beings in petroglyphs around the world. Start with tridactyl limbs, start with the cordiform heads. But as other archaeologists had noted in their reports, that these tridactyl limbs and cordiform heads were found in association with spirals and mother goddess imagery. And you can see these in Taino artifacts in the Caribbean. Little stick figure mother goddesses with little tridactyl limbs, many times in birth or in a squatting position of birth. So we have these spirals which indicate water or water serpents or origins of the water. Maybe that's a better way to put it. The spiral indicates a water origins, and you'll find these even on the Dogu figures. And this is another one of those things that the people who use Occam's spork, they say, oh, well, they did the spiral because it was easy to draw. Because spirals are easy. That's why there's so many of them everywhere, because they're easy. Whew. That is really some weird oversimplifying. And, maybe somebody says that in a documentary somewhere, and the next thing you know, it becomes law. I hear people typing. I hope it's not to me. Good. You guys probably hear that too in the background. We're under attack by a keyboard. Da-da-da-da-da. So spirals, you will find those as a constant motif. So it's a good indication of a water origins. And if you look into the myths, who are some of our tutory beings that emerge from the sea? Oannes and Dagon. They emerge from the sea and they teach mankind various skills, skill sets, techniques, yada, yada, languages, mathematics, probably economics, probably about money, probably about agriculture and farming and crop growing and tubers and things of that nature. Because why do I say that? Because that seems to be a common motif in myths around the world. There's some kind of a flood. Now, a lot of the geologists say, well, there was no world flood. Okay, maybe there wasn't. Maybe there was. Irregardless, is it irregardless or regardless? It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter is that there's still these myths, and there is still the tale of after the myths, there are certain beings that teach mankind various techniques and skills. So it was not much of a leap, because we have the mother goddesses imagery, and then we have these tutory god stories, and then we start to see that the tutory gods, many of them have reptilian backgrounds. Probably the best are of the Dogon culture and the representations of the Namoli artifacts from Western Africa. We have discussion of intelligent reptiles throughout. In Sumer, Marduk had his dragon viziers, his dragon advisors, viziers. course, in our own Western culture, we have the talking serpent passing on knowledge in the form of an apple. Also leading me to all of this mother goddess reptilian tridactyl stuff was, of course, the Maori and their Heitiki artifacts, which seem to depict a tridactyl being. And many times they are hewn out of a green stone, many times jade. And this too seems to be a sort of Pacific Rim cultural occurrence, because we kind of have to broaden our ideas of cultural areas, because clearly there is a Pacific Rim culture that includes South America, Southeast Asia, and Oceania. We know that from standard anthropology and archaeology, things like the sweet potato and yams. So where else are we at? I don't know. That might be good. I just wanted to give that little, just clear that up a little bit with me personally, how I got to the reptilian myths. And of course I say that, but we have bodies that have eggs in them and scales and all that. Plus that, right? So tutory beings are also the Naga people, the Naga beings. And the Nagas have some peripheral beings in the mythology of the Hindus. And so the Nagas, who themselves are said to be serpentine, have these yaksha dwarves, these little metallurgists and craftsmen, are dwarves essentially. And so going through the myths, this is one of this, I think, the perfect example of my constant companion theory offers hypotheses, and these hypotheses can grow into theories. The hypothesis was the yakshas were symbolic representations of the Tridactyls. In one of Praveen Mohan's videos, he goes to Jasmalanthiji, I think that's how you pronounce it, Jasmalanji, a temple. And there, while investigating two guardian beings, these are the little peripheral gods on the side of a greater god. Although I think the peripheral beings are the actual original gods, maybe best exemplified in like Ptah of Egypt. He's a little dwarf-like god being. Anyway, in one of the videos of India, in this temple, these seemingly yakshas, there within their folded arms, hidden with steganography, cleverly hidden to look like folded arms, was actually a hyper-realistic face of a tridactyl being. To me, that proved the theory. That proved it was theory, right? So it proves also that the ancients knew of these beings. I should check the time frame on that temple. A lot of stuff happened between 500 AD and 500 BC in the Caribbean and Oceania. But, these tridactyl beings, according to me personally, I see evidence of them in the Syrian eye idols from 3500 BC. And those eye idol heads, again, cordiform, heart-shaped, are depicted in the Sheen letter, I believe it is, in the Semitic language. And so it looks like a cordiform shape, and the Sheen is also the first letter of the feminine name for God, Shaddai. I'm not trying to create some sort of conspiracy here, but apparently to the ancient peoples, yes, these letters and placement had meaning. Not to us anymore, so it looks like I'm trying to like stretch something. I'm not. If it reminded them of something, then it became symbolic. So the letter reminded them of the first letter of Shaddai. And I say the feminine counterpart because it's a female name that they say is associated with Yahweh. Probably a female god in reality. Very good. Good stuff. Good stuff. I've been off on a little tangent here, and that's probably a good thing. I hope people are watching. I think I saw a comment recently. Let's see if I did get a comment here. Let's see. Well, if I had one, it's gone now. All right. So I was giving you a little background of why we're connecting some of these things together. Where do we take it from here? So another example of hypothesis becoming theory. My hypothesis was the Ionic columns of Greece were stylized representations of the tridactyl heads and eyes. And my research took me to finding out, well, hey, the ionic columns first appeared outside Mother Goddess temples to Hera, who in turn, I didn't know this at the time, she's also associated with serpents. Okay? So we have our Mother Goddess serpent connection in Western beliefs right there, tied into our ionic columns. The ionic columns themselves were probably inspired by predecessors in the artistic world, which included Asherah poles, which were images of Asherah, the goddess, on a pole, or the Syrian eye idols once again, or perhaps even the pillars of Hathor. So my hypothesis was the pillars of Hathor depicted ionic columns, or were predecessors of the ionic columns. And when looking at the video, if you can go check out our videos at Tridactyls, we have it on YouTube and TikTok, you can see for yourselves that it appears as though artists designed the two faces of Hathor on corner, the two faces on the corners, and then within the corner is the appearance of a tridactyl-like head with its cordiform face. And I would have to say hyper-realistic eyes. These ancient artists, which makes you wonder, was it human-made? Was it tridactyl-made? These ancient artists seem to really capture eyes very well in their art forms. So something to look for. So there are some definitely new things out there to be discovered. We haven't figured it all out yet, needless to say. I'm sure there's going to be continuous studies into megaliths where we will have a renewed interpretation of megaliths thanks to the tridactyl's appearance. I mean, I even have a theory myself on the megaliths that those stone knobs on the outside of the walls may represent tridactyl heads, or maybe they even represent tridactyl scutes. They're little scales. So we're talking about connections. We're talking about biology, a little bit about the cosmology of our human belief system that has overlaps throughout the world. Many, many times I notice that anthropologists and archaeologists, like myself, dismiss things as independent innovation. That means when they see the same technology, same cultural trait appear in different distant parts of the world, sometimes in temporal distances of great time away from each other, they suggest that since there was such distance, either geographically or temporally or both, that there is no way that cultural trait is related to the trait first introduced by a previous culture because of the distance. I just don't think that's good anthropology anymore. Cultural traits are diffused, or perhaps in this case, perhaps cultural traits were imprinted. If the tridactyls were a superior species on this planet, and perhaps it was them that domesticated us. Perhaps they domesticated the dog to guard us. Perhaps they domesticated the dog and cow and pig to feed us. People are going to say, well, now we're disrespecting the human race. Not if the human race and the tridactyl race are one, and either that could be genetically related, and with hybrids being out there, and excuse me if I'm wrong, if anyone's listening who's a better biologist than I am, do the little tridactyls like Victoria, does she have 2% human DNA? Is that something I saw? That would be like us being part chimp. Interesting. So the biology will continue to unfold. I saw we have more close-ups of the skin. Again, Psychoactivo is doing a great job. Cosmic Road doing a great job. Cosmic Road Mysteries, Jack there, he is the daily news. So we gave two good plugs for those cats. I'm glad to say they're doing their thing. we're trying to do more research. And I say we, I mean me, but it could be we, because there are people on X who are helping me. There is someone, I'll give a shout out to Sophia. Sophia99 is doing some really great research. Fun stuff too, like demonstrating how would a tridactyl hand work. So here's an interesting thing. So in ancient Greece, there were the dactyls. And the dactyls were said to be metallurgists. And they were said to use their hands like tongs. So they were given a nickname, like something like the crab people. Yeah. I can't remember the full Greek name, but I think crab people works. Because, again, they were said to use their hands like tongs. Interesting. Which reminds me of the Shaka symbol. That I was trying to research the origins of this. People are like, we don't know where it comes from. But meanwhile, there are depictions of oceanic gods in carvings where they're doing just this. Anyway, back to the tongs, crab people. Well, guess what? The constellation for the crab cancer, did I say that right? I think I did. Looks like very similar to the letter Yod, which Yod stands for hand. It's like this Y kind of like symbol. Look it up. Look up the constellation Cancer. Look up the letter Yod. Do your own research. Don't just listen to me. Looks like tongue-like hands. It's all connected, I believe. It's all related. That's why we have so many constellations like Hydra with a triangular-like head, or Serpent's Kaput. Uh-oh. Gears here. Look out. Gears going to put me to task. All right, Gears. What do you got? Lay it on me. Gears shows up in the chat. Yeah. Well, we'll let him come back with a response. So what are we on about? Oh, yep. Gears is going to put me on. Gears is here to put me on notice about stuff, I'm sure. So I don't know. What are we on about? We're talking about the constellations. I'm saying it's all connected. There's the sign of Ophiuchus is related to a constellation known as the Seated Gods. And that's where you find Ophiuchus, who is appearing to hold two separate constellations. But really the constellation is one singular constellation that was mysteriously cut up. Why did they do that? So either Ophiuchus is holding and it could be holding one snake, where he has the head on one side and the tail on the other, and now the head and tail are considered two separate constellations. Doesn't make sense, right? So, or possibly, if the myth is correct, there was two serpents. So was the tail, the serpent cauda, like line, like tail, like, okay. Okay, Gears looking at Santiago and Maria now. Cool. There was something I wanted to ask about them. Well, yeah, do they have, silly question, but we call them Santiago, and what's the other kid's name? Raphael. Do they have genitals? Or are we dealing with an hermaphroditic species here? The constellations. So Ophiuchus is also supported by the Scorpio signs. So if you're following the Masters of Beast motif or Master of Animals motif I talk about, a lot of times there's a supporting beast that lies underneath. So it's the child prince of earth is in the middle. He has a father and mother on either side in serpent form or animal form. And typically there's another animal that the being is resting on. This guy said, I like that line. We're going to share that one. That's a great line. He says he's looking at Santiago and Maria, and he says, out of all the evidence, looks like the fingerprints is the smoking gun. Is it the smoking gun, or is it the evidence that is selling best right now? Because it's selling best because I saw someone in another post wrote, fingerprints, keep it simple for the public, right? We all can understand fingerprints. It's got fingerprints. You've got fingerprints. We've got fingerprints. I've got fingerprints. However, this thing's fingerprints are different than everybody else's. Good stuff, Gears. Yeah, screenshot that. Out of all the evidence, looks like the fingerprints is the smoking gun. Maybe so. Maybe so, my man. Oh, I forgot. I had something fun to show today. I got some show and tell. How's that for cool? Let me reach over to the side here. Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. Okay, so this is the logo. Why can't I just center this? Because I'm all discombobulated. Can I pull back? Okay, here we go. I can't see. Okay, so we designed this. My then friend, who is now my girlfriend years later, what do you know? We designed this for my anthropology club. And I wanted a Northwest Indian depiction of an owl because owls are the FAU's mascot. Coincidentally, or not coincidentally, I don't know. It's also the community college's mascot. So that keeps things simple. Okay, can we zoom in a little bit better on the bird here? So what do you guys see? What do you see on this mascot from 2002? 22 years ago. The colors are the colors of FAU. It's supposed to represent an M. It's a Northwest Native American. And you can see it again in the front here with the Greek letters Lambda Alpha, which probably means something completely different in retrospect, like, I don't know, weapon of the Alpha God or something. Yeah, Lambda's like, I don't know, a stick, I think. Okay, so that was cool. Just showing off my anthropology shirt. That was fun stuff. I want to make sure I covered everything I wanted to cover because I feel like I forget to cover stuff. So what are we on about lately? Well, it's always about the dragons, you know? That's the other thing. It's always hard to explain to people. So it's my belief that the Tridactyls are related to the Naga. And where's my proof? Well, they're serpentine-like nature. They're little cobra-like heads. They're little snake-like snouts. They're serpentine necks. They're eggs. They're possible, what was it? Oviviparity? Oh, God. Having eggs birth live in your stomach. So all these things are very, very snake-like. So I do think they're the Naga, but perhaps the damning evidence is, again, that face of the being concealed within the Yaksha statue. Let's talk about the symbolism. Oh no. I don't like talking modern symbolism, especially anymore. No way. Let's face it. First of all, that symbolism is all going to be tied typically to something in Western culture, something that has to do with Abrahamic, Semitic religions or beliefs. Like there's not an entire planet around the Middle East that exists with different cultures and beliefs. Okay, there's that. And not only that, but in lieu of the Tridactyls, I look at all that stuff differently. So yeah, the Western religions, the Abrahamic religions, Christianity, they got some stuff right. They did. They got some stuff right. They got some stuff that makes you think, Okay, here we go. Statue of Liberty being Lucifer. Wow. I'm not sure what that, I'm assuming, I don't know what the, well, that might just be I don't even know if that's symbolism. Is that even considered symbolism? Or is that just, what is that, metaphor? Is that just artistic license? Like Statue of Liberty. I have this posted right now. I'm going to take that comic down. It's just crazy. Statue of Liberty being Lucifer. Yeah, what does that mean, though? I don't know. You'll have to. Do I have to look it up? All right, I'm going to look it up. I'm not going to be a punk. I'm going to look up the Statue of Liberty as Lucifer, and we'll share it. There we go. I guess I got to type in Olympics. Oh, I ain't seeing it. Where is it? Let's see. Is it Paris Olympics? Paris Olympics. Maybe I just type in Statue of Liberty. You know, there's different versions of Statue of Liberty too. I don't know, man. You'll have to send me a link. I'm not finding it, Gear. I want to take part in the Statue of Liberty as Lucifer. I do. But oh, you're just saying in general, Statue of Liberty is Lucifer, the light bearer? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, well, it's like, well, who is Lucifer then? You know? Is Lucifer even in the Bible? I don't recall. Yes, they say like Lucifer, you fall like the fallen star, right? But a lot of times these like Lucifer becomes like Satan like later. So I don't know. The whole again, I can't. I, I can't with the Western interpretation of stuff. Certainly, again, not anymore with the Tridactyls. I was already skeptical of a lot of things, and now I just look at things completely different. Now, I'll say this: is the Statue of Liberty some sort of ultimately a symbolic metaphor of some mother goddess or moon goddess? Or yeah. Sure. Ultimately, that's what that is, and there may be more symbolism in there, absolutely. It is interesting, though. I've noticed that in other countries like India and China, they are still creating these grand sculptures and statues. And, you know, that combined with a bullet train is just like a glaring example. I just feel like we really are under the yoke of some Western propaganda. We all think that we are, our shit don't stink over here in the West. But anyway, I think I get a little too political on this stuff. Thanks, Gear. Got any more conspiracy stuff? Conspiracy stuff? Well, Tridactyls are probably the creators of language. There you go. And where do I get that from? You know, very simply, the Chinese letters for sky, God, is Tian. And it's the early letters look like little tridactyls. They look like little beings. Also, if you notice, the tridactyl hand seems to run through many languages with letters like the shin or the psi being related. Okay. Well, I think I did all I really wanted to talk about today. It was more than I anticipated because I thought I was going to have a guest. So thanks for being on. We can share one last thing here, which is this is that Sophia person who's making some graphics or utilizing other graphics as well to create what she thinks some of the physiology as far as locomotion is concerned with the foot. So it's great. There are other people who are doing some work and they are sharing that information with me as I'm sharing what I learned with you guys from the archaeology, from the ancestral tradition of the peoples of the planet. And I suspect the more of us that continue to go on these virtual digs, you don't have to go to the museum anymore. You can go to the museum from home many times, as a lot of their collections are uploaded. So go there. I've been catching things in videos of all things. Watch the videos of the travel networks and these explorers so you can do it safely from your home. But yes, please always go to your local museums. I'm sure they need the interest at the very least. I don't know if they need your ticket dollars. It depends. But thank you for listening. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. A lot of times I do have answers to things and they just sort of float in my head because I'm just sort of reading as much as I can and I'm trying to piece together as much as I can in the hopes of maybe a book in the future, or at the very least, a nice slideshow with a public audience, because this education process is going to continue on. And the more we learn, the more we stay current with the science, the better equipped we all will be in the future to help educate the next generation of who these tridactyls really are. So, Alien Ed out, live long and prosper. Keep the wonder, because it is a strange and mysterious world out there.